What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're taking a look at the Great League because it's here for a few weeks, and specifically I wanted to take a look at Chesnaught because it recently got access to its Community Day move Frenzy Plant, which does improve its matchup substantially, so I wanted to check it out, see how it can perform. Now, I do think Chesnaught actually has more play in the Ultra League and the Master League than it does in the Great League because there's a lot of other strong, viable grass options and fighting options. And with the rise of the fliers, especially in Great League, Chesnaught's getting punished quite heavily by that. But I want to try and make it work in a team and just really get into the nitty-gritty of what this thing's capable of. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that I am going to be attending the Liverpool Regional Championships next weekend here in the UK. I went to the Regional Championships last year and did pretty well for myself. Had some pretty good matchups against some great battlers and went further than I expected to. And I'm hoping to take it even further this year. I won't be making any videos with my battles specifically because you don't use your own phone for the battles in these regional championships. Use devices that are provided for you, so I'd have no access to screen recordings of battles. But they do tend to stream these things on the Pokemon Go Twitch channel. I'm assuming this one will be as well, so you might be able to catch me on there. Who knows? Depends on how far I go, I guess. If you're curious about how that goes, or if you're watching this after next week, how it went, then be sure to subscribe because I will be talking about it here on the channel. If you're planning on attending Liverpool yourself, let me know down below. It'd be great to run into some of you guys there, get to know some of you guys. Liverpool last year was a ton of fun, but let's go ahead and jump straight into looking at today's team and get going with the video. So on the lead, we're going to be bringing the Chesnaught, and the main reason we're putting it on the lead is because it's got access to superpower, and putting Pokemon with superpower on the lead means that in the earlier matchups, you've got the option of throwing superpower straight away and then swapping out and clearing that debuff, which gives you a little bit more versatility and can put a little bit more pressure on in the early game against certain kinds of leads. Along with Chesnaught, I did try a couple of different teams, and this is the one I had the most success with, and that includes Noctowl in the back, which is hard meta for the Great League, but this thing is strong. It is really powerful, pairs very well with Chesnaught because Chesnaught devastates those hard counters to Noctowl like Bastiodon, Galarian Stunfisk. Even Lanturn gets completely walled by Chesnaught, which is a really nice position to be in and really just pairs well with Noctowl overall. And then in the back, we're bringing Alolan Ninetails, specifically with Powder Snow rather than Charm, because the Charm nerf doesn't make the biggest difference to Alolan Ninetails, but it does make some difference. And I figure Powder Snow, better for the energy generation, means we can threaten the fliers better that are going to be there to threaten Chesnaught. So it just balances the team out a little bit more overall. Now, oddly enough, PvPoke did recommend that I ran Galarian Stunfisk instead of Noctowl as a safe swap on this team, and I did try it, and it really struggled because everybody just brings answers to Galarian Stunfisk. It's a great safe swap overall in the simulations, but when it's that common and that powerful, everyone prepares for it. So it becomes not a good safe swap because everyone's got a hard answer for it. The similar thing happened to Sableye a few seasons ago, but I'd say Sableye is a little bit safer now, even with Noctowl being as prevalent as it is. And a great thing about Noctowl as a safe swap is that it baits out the hardest answers to Alolan Ninetails that an opponent might have in the back as well. It baits out those steel types, it baits out those rock types, so it can really pull out those toughest counters for then Chesnaught to deal with and opens up the floor for Ninetails to sweep in the endgame very, very nicely. Now in this first matchup, we're in a very strong position. We had Chesnaught lined up against the Lanturn, which resists all the moves. They swap in Trevenant. We've got Noctowl, which again, we resist all the moves, and we're just going to farm it down entirely. We're not going to throw a charge move. We're just going to keep taking these seed bombs, farm the Trevenant down entirely, and then just dump Shadow Balls into the Lanturn when we presume that it's going to come back in, because Lanturn is a good answer to Noctowl, but there's really nothing this opponent can do unless they've got a hard counter to Alolan Ninetails in the back, and even then we're going to have quite a bit of leeway to work around that because Chesnaught's still going to be so healthy as well after this Lanturn is dealt with because it's already so low. It's in Vine Whip down range at this point, which gives us a solid energy lead as well. The opponent's going to bring in the Noctowl in the back, which is a hard counter to Chesnaught really, although you can do good damage with the superpowers, but those double super effective wing attacks are going to absolutely devastate you as well over time. But we've got the Ninetales here to lock in against the Noctowl, and this is just a done game. We're just going to keep spamming these weather balls. If they end up managing to take out the Ninetales somehow, it'll be low enough to be in superpower range, so the opponent's going to surrender there. It's going to be a GG. It was a very hard counter matchup there for us, just very fortunate in being hard counters all the way through. Not much the opponent could do at all. Alright, matchup 2, double lead, pretty solid for Chesnaught. The superpower is going to be very, very threatening, but they're not even going to give us the chance to throw it and dip. They're just going to swap straight out to Sableye, and we're just going to bring in the Noctowl here, because Alolan Ninetails does okay against Sableye, but without Charm, it's a much more even matchup, and that return is much, much more threatening to Alolan Ninetales than it is to Noctowl. Whereas with Noctowl, we know we can at least take that. We can throw charge moves if they want to shield up and stuff, they can do, but we can still force shield advantage and switch advantage if needs be in this situation. And they are going to choose to shield at this move, and this means now we can shield at this move safely, go into the one shield scenario and just farm them down entirely, which again puts us in a strong position moving forward because it means we can do chip damage to the Dubwool if it comes back in. Usually Dubwool's stronger charge moves like the Wild Charge or the Payback are quite threatening if this thing gets a big energy advantage in a situation like this, but the good thing about Chesnaught is that you're resisting Payback because of the fighting typing, you're resisting Wild Charge because of the grass typing, so a Dubwool with energy isn't half as scary for a Chesnaught because yeah, the body slams are strong and they're going to do decent damage, but you can take at least one very, very comfortably and you're not at risk of getting double kicked down. We're going to go straight for the superpower here. We're going to make them give up a shield before we have to if they want. They do let it go down. In comes a Medicham. And again, this is a reason why you might want Charm on Alolan Ninetales. I just wanted the extra versatility and chose not to have it because situations like this are much, much better for you if you've got the Charm. We don't, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to go for the Dazzling Gleam here and either knock them out or get the shield, which we get the shield. And then we figure we can probably just throw a Frenzy Plant and then farm down this Medicham. This is going to be a little bit close because Ice Punch from Medicham is quite threatening to Chesnaught. It wouldn't one hit, but since we're on like 33-35% health here, it will definitely take us out from this range. But they're not going to have the energy. They have to throw a Psychic at the Ninetales to take it out, so we can just farm them down. It's going to be a GG. Rolling straight into the next matchup against Enderlord 300, and they're bringing Dunsparce on the lead. Dunsparce is quite an interesting pick at the current state of the Great League, just because there's a lot of steel types, a lot of flying types, and Dunsparce has coverage for both thanks to Drill Run, Rock Slide, as well as that Roll Out Fast move. So it is an interesting pick at the minute, but it is a bad matchup against Chesnaught because Chesnaught resists both of those moves, and the fact they're staying in implies they might be weak in the back to Chesnaught, so I was kind of anticipating a shield here, but they didn't. But this means we can just let these moves go through, we can survive another Drill Run after this one, and we can just Vine Whip all the way down. And depending what we see, we might want to try and preserve Chesnaught after this, but we will just have to see what comes in. We found them down, waiting, what's going to follow it in, and we see Bug and Flying type, and we just throw a Frenzy Plant, because honestly Bug and Flying is going to resist both. It's going to double resist Frenzy Plant, and it's going to double resist Superpower, which, so Scyther is actually a huge wall to Chesnaught, but it's very, very spicy for the Great League, especially a Shadow Scyther. You really don't see this thing very often, but you love seeing new picks floating around. But we have Noctowl to absolutely hardwall that thing, and this is the other Pokemon that was weak to Chesnaught in the back. It's the Swampert, which might seem like bad news that Chesnaught's down and they've still got the Swampert running around, but we don't mind. Swampert's not that threatening to us. Between Ninetales and Noctowl, we can definitely handle it. The Scyther can't really threaten the Noctowl. It didn't get enough energy, and we can just wing attack them down anyway. So we can just commit all our resources to dealing with Swampert, and this game is as good as done. We're not going to shield this Ninetales here, just let it go through. If it's a Hydro Cannon, which it is, wouldn't knock us out. Since we're at the the Weather Ball here, and we've CMP tied, so we know it's getting thrown against Swampert, it's worth the shield. If we hadn't have CMP tied, I wouldn't have shielded that move. I'd have just saved the shield for Noctowl and just been more comfortable at definitely knowing that I wasn't just going to waste a shield to not get a charge move off on the Ninetales there. Aerial Ace comes through, hits harder than I expected it to, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough. We're going to farm down, and that's going to be a good game. So what do you guys think of the team so far? Honestly, I really expected Chesnaught to struggle just because it doesn't have the real bulk for the Great League, but it's performed better than I expected it to once it was paired up with the right Pokemon. Okay, the algorithm giveth and the algorithm taketh away. Noctowl will lead against our Chesnaught and a Lanturn counter swap to our Noctowl. So this is worst case scenario. We're getting hard countered on the lead and we're getting hard countered on the safe swap. So we're going to really be depending on Alolan Ninetales to finish this game out because we're really in a tough position. We're just going to have to not shield this and take a chance that they're going to try and bait us with Surf. There's a good chance they won't because they don't really have good reason to. It's Thunderbolt. We throw Sky Attack instead of Shadow Ball here, which is a mistake, but then also it's kind of not a mistake because we can completely Vine Whip down this Lanturn, and Shadow Ball would have given us less farm. So Sky Attack might have been a misclick, but it works out well in the long run because this means we can get more energy, throw a Superpower at the Noctowl, which is neutral, will do a nice chunk of damage, and all these charge moves from Lanturn are just completely irrelevant because the Noctowl is so threatening. We're not bothered about preserving the Chesnaught really. in any way. So we're going to throw Superpower and then we're going to dip straight into Ninetales, see what they've got in the back to meet us, and it's a Medicham. So interestingly enough, if we'd have had Charm on Ninetales, we'd have won this game because we'd have just been able to shield up, Charm through the Medicham, and then do enough damage to Noctowl afterwards to definitely take it out because we still had 2 shields at this point. We're just going to go for the Weather Ball spam here rather than the Dazzling Gleam, just try and take them out and maybe get that shield. If they shield up this second Weather Ball here, we might go for the Dazzling Gleam, try and take them out, but it is going to be a little bit close because the Medicham is also baiting us with the Ice Punches. So our energies are both still pretty high at this moment. We realise we should probably just throw the Weather Ball here. We're just going to hope that we can actually Vine Whip down. We snipe down the Medicham, burn its energy, which is very nice for us. We've preserved pretty much a Weather Ball's worth of energy on Ninetales. We'll throw the Superpower, do some chip. Well, get the shield, sorry, not do some chip. And now we've got the Weather Ball. Is this enough to knock out Noctowl? Noctowl's got about 50%, 45% health. It's not quite. Survives with 1 HP. The move's going to come through. It's going to take us out. There's no way we're surviving this. It's a Shadow Ball as well for that extra little bit of oomph. It's going to take us out. It's going to be a good game. Very close game. I was very happy with my play in that matchup, considering a hard counter lead and a hard counter Chesnaught. We were able to almost bring that game back. Very well played to the opponent. Okay, matchup 5, Swampert lead. Brilliant for Chesnaught. You resist the Hydro Cannons. The Frenzy Plant's going to absolutely annihilate that poor thing. The Chesnaught Sableye, and we've got the Noctowl in the back. And when you're in this position, when they swap in Sableye like this, I don't recommend you shield the first move because they don't often try and bait you with a foul play, but it's not really worth shielding either way because you can still make them shield up first in this situation and still come out of it pretty strong. So because they're through return, they're not going to be quite at the foul play before you get to your second Sky attack, which means if they want to get another charge move off, they have to shield first, which if they do, you can farm them down. If they let it go, you've still got a reasonable amount of health on Noctowl like we do here to throw a Sky attack at the Swampert, start doing some chip damage, which they let through, which is not surprising because they're really in a tough position with Chesnaught in the back. I'm just going to let this go because that Swampert's still in Vine Whip down range before they'd make it to a Sludge Wave, even though they built up excess energy. They swap straight out to a Skarmory, which now it's a good thing we've got Powder Snow rather than Charm, because again with Charm, Skarmory can really just bulk its way through a lower Ninetales because those Air Slashes and Sky attacks really do add up. But when you've got Powder Snow and Weather Ball, you're very, very spammy in this situation and you can really start racking up the damage. And we make a slight misplay here. The Skarmory is going to throw, the switch timer is going to come up because this matchup lasts that long, and we know that Swampert's pretty much just about got another Hydro Cannon loaded. So we're worried about them jumping in with Swampert and throwing a Hydro Cannon. So as soon as the switch timer's up, when this move is thrown, we're going to shield this up and then we're going to immediately swap to Chesnaught, I think. No, we let it go, which is insane. We survive it with 1 HP and a Dream and have a banked Weather Ball, which is kind of nuts. And we're going to swap into Chesnaught because we were expecting the Swampert to come in aggressively at this point, and they don't. But it doesn't matter, we've still got a shield, so we can just shield up the Sky attack, build up some excess energy, Superpower the Skarmory. We lose CMP tie to the Swampert. Have we thrown this game away? No, we haven't, because we banked a Weather Ball on our 1 HP Ninetales, so almost a misplay in a very strong matchup for us that could have cost us really heavily, but still able to bring it around and take the win there. It's going to be a good game, and that's going to give us a 4 out of 5 set there. And that's nothing to sniff at 2700 EL, which we're currently at because we keep changing up our teams a couple of times a day, which doesn't really suit climbing, mixing up your teams that much, I don't think. I think you're better off getting used to one team and really nailing those specific matchup scenarios and perfecting your gameplay with it to really make that push up towards Legend rank. And don't forget, guys, it is Go Battle weekend this weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, you get 100 matches per day, quadruple Stardust rewards from your rewards. So very, very good opportunity to make a hard effort to try and climb higher. I'm going to have a very hard push for Legend rank myself this weekend. And if I hit it, you'll know about it for sure here. So be sure to subscribe and see what team we use, because we're probably going to be playing in the Great League. Might mess about in the Ultra League a little bit. Who knows? Ultra League does tend to be my stronger league at the minute. Like the last 3 or 4 seasons, I think I've always hit Legend rank in the Ultra League. It'd be nice to give it a go in the Great League and try and find a solid team for you guys to know and actually showcase a team making that push, rather than just already being at Legend rank and using a team at 3000 DLO, actually showing you that it can get you across that finish line. With all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the team down below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button to become an absolute legend if you haven't already, and I'll catch all you guys next time.